Now it is less than 24 hours to the first anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and the UN Secretary General António Guterres has described the invasion as an affront and a violation of the United Nations Charter and international law. Well, he was speaking at an emergency special session of the UN General Assembly to mark the anniversary, which is also focusing on how to reach a peace resolution that should be voted later this week.
Just hours to the anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, United Nations Secretary-General António Guterres has again condemned Russia's invasion, describing it as an affront to the world's collective conscience. He was speaking at a meeting of the General Assembly, debating a motion backed by Ukraine and its allies, demanding Russia pulls out immediately and unconditionally from Ukraine. Mr. Guterres says the war is fanning regional instability, fueling global tension and divisions, while diverting attention and resources from other crises and pressing global issues.
The one-year mark of Russia's invasion of Ukraine stands as a grim milestone for the people of Ukraine and for the international community. That invasion is an affront to our collective conscience. It is a violation of the United Nations Charter and international law. It is having dramatic humanitarian and human rights consequences, and the impact is being felt far beyond Ukraine. The war is also fanning regional instability and fueling global tensions and divisions, while diverting attention and resources from other crises and pressing global issues.
But the Russian government is accusing the West of wanting to defeat Russia by any cost, even if it means plunging the entire world into war. The UK's Ministry of Defense says Ukraine should expect Russian missile attacks to coincide with the anniversary of the invasion. The United Nations is expected to approve a resolution that condemns Russia's invasion of Ukraine and calls for peace as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister of Spain is in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, on a surprise visit on the eve of the first anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion. His visit is being interpreted as a fresh show of support for Ukraine from a NATO ally after U.S. President Joe Biden's visit to the capital this week. President Biden praised Western democracy for standing up to Russian aggression.
President Putin is confronted with something today that he didn't think was possible a year ago. The democracies of the world have grown stronger, not weaker. But the autocrats of the world have grown weaker, not stronger, because in the moments of great upheaval and uncertainty, that knowing what you stand for is most important.
On the flip side, Russia's President Vladimir Putin says the West has turned Ukraine into a neo-Nazi regime that is anti-Russia. Since the 24th of February 2022, President Vladimir Putin has sent up to 200,000 soldiers into Ukraine in the biggest European invasion since the end of the World War II. According to a UN estimate, the lingering war has left at least 7,199 civilians dead and thousands of others injured.
And for more on this lingering war, reactions to it, and the fast approaching first anniversary of the invasion, a global affairs analyst, Kunle Falowo, joins me now via Skype for his perspective on this issue. Good to have you on World Now this hour. So yes, there have been global tensions and divisions caused by the Russian invasion in Ukraine. But what do you make of this continued conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and what can be done to resolve this?
Thanks for having me. So it's a bad, terrible situation. It's undescribable chaos and unnecessary loss of lives and property worth billions of dollars. And sometimes price and money cannot do justice to the level of destruction that's been happening, particularly in Ukraine. Uh, when you look at the, particularly when this war started sometime last year, tomorrow will be the official 1 year that this war's been going on, you would observe that both sides, it was a miscalculation from particularly the Russian side, hoping that it would be a walk in the park, just like it happened to them, just like it did in 2014, the Crimea region. It was easy for them. World leaders weren't doing anything about it. It was pretty rosy, and nobody questioned their will and their capacity and the intentions behind it. But this time it was a full scale war. It was a full scale invasion also, and then the West are beginning to question everything and anything that's coming out from Russia, and it's not going well for both sides, particularly Russia. There collateral damage on both sides, and until and when we have a diplomatic roundtable discussion from each side and a mediator that wouldn't be siding one party or the other, we will continue to witness unnecessary loss of lives and property, which is very unfortunate in this 21st century.
Yeah, and talking about diplomatic relations here, how do you see the international community's response now to the situation in Ukraine thus far? Do you think enough has been done to reduce the scale of conflict?
Now it's becoming a war of attrition. That's what everybody is saying, meaning that one side is trying to prolong, and the other side is trying to see who will blink an eye faster, meaning that it's going to be prolonged and it's a continuous battle, and see who gets tired first. And this is not even healthy for anybody or for any parts of the world, because the entire world is thrown into unnecessary chaos, and we're seeing prices of gasoline and petroleum products affected by everybody, every country in the world, because the price of supply and demand has been affected. Russia is part of the OPEC community, that they sell oil to international communities, and this has kind of escalated and aggravated the presence of every other supplies in and around that commodity. And also, when you look at somewhere like Syria, for instance, they're hugely dependent on Syria and Ethiopia, are hugely dependent on the bread coming out of Ukraine. As they say, Ukraine is the heart of wheat and bread and flour, particularly, that they send out, and maize, and they send out to different parts of the world. All of this has been affecting hugely across board, and it's really, really sad, knowing fully well that other parts of the world, because we're all interconnected, everybody is reeling from the effect of the Russian invasion and killings in Ukraine. Having said that, what the world leaders will continue to do, in my estimation, is will try and seek out every sanction available to make sure that Russians get tired and they're ineffective in their war against Ukraine. They've been sanctioning the international banks, they've been withholding funds, and they've been making sure that they're not functioning as a good society. And we're starting to see a little bit of bite here and there in the Russian economy, but that's not enough. World leaders, especially Western democracies, will continue to pressure Ukraine and pressure Russia, particularly, to make sure that they could find a lasting solution and kind of retreat from what they're currently doing. But until then, we'll continue to see, destructions on both sides.
In a bid to look for a lasting solution to this impasse between the both parties, what do you propose could be the options that needs to be explored that hasn't been explored otherwise? Because, you know, you mentioned the issue of sanctions and also having a mediator between the two parties. But what other options do you think needs to be explored so that the people there in Ukraine and, of course, Russia can have peace, saying that this is going to be more than a year of this conflict between the two parties involved? How do you think, what other options do you think needs to be explored in this case?
That's unfortunately, it's a very tricky and complicated situation, and it's a very hard response to give because as it is, Russia and Ukraine aren't the only countries grieving from the situation going on over there. It is crippled into other economies, and it's been affected. When you look at the European countries, for instance, gasoline prices of other commodities have been hugely affected. People are facing hardship. Currencies are falling beyond unimaginable amount, and it has destabilized in every way world economy. And until Vladimir Putin will be able to sit down back on the table and negotiate and renegotiate again, we wouldn't be having any solutions to it. The Ukrainians on the other side aren't going to back down because they are fighting for their country. They're fighting for the sovereign integrity of their country as it is. So Russia has been the aggressor in this matter. Will have to look for a way to dialogue and sit back on the table and have this discussion. We could start with withdrawal of troops from all Ukrainian territories. That will be a great starting point. Until then, unfortunately, there wouldn't be any solutions to it because, as it is, Russia is the one that needs to be, held accountable for all the wrongdoings currently.
Global Affairs Analyst Kunle Falowo, we appreciate your insights on World Now on TVC News.
My pleasure.